From the time I was very young, I always had a vision for how I wanted my life to go. I would serve in various callings in young men's growing up, go on a mission, go to BYU, marry a beautiful woman, have children, and serve faithfully in the church after that. And being gay didn't really ever have a part in that plan that I had, or those expectations that my family had of me, or that my church had of me. And although I recognized those attractions from a young age, I didn't ever allow myself to think more into it, or I just basically did everything I could to ignore it. It scared me. So being gay didn't really fit into that plan at all. And I did the best that I could to ignore those feelings and not focus on them at all. I was taught that thoughts will develop into, who you are. And so I did everything I could to ignore them. And when I got married, I did it with the expectation that my attraction to men wouldn't really be a big deal. It wouldn't be a problem. It would kind of go away as I was able to experience sexuality with my wife. But it didn't take long after I was married to realize that I was very disoriented, actually, just really confused. Couldn't understand why I was having a hard time with marriage. And so I came out to my wife about a month after we were married, and it was really scary for both of us, really terrifying and heartbreaking. But she's a brave woman, and we decided that we would work through this, we would overcome it, we weren't going to let it be a problem for us. And eventually it got to the point that we stopped talking about it because it was too painful. I did everything I could to overcome it. I became a temple worker and would go there as an ordinance worker for one night a week. I would go out with the missionaries. I would serve as best as I could in my callings and as a home teacher, thinking that this would be my cure. The church was my cure for overcoming this. And eventually, it was around the time that we were pregnant with our second that I sank to a level of despair that I had never been to before. And I hit a breaking point, and that level of self-awareness that I had to start asking some really deep questions. And so I started doing what I could to reconcile my feelings that I was having with my religion, being Mormon, and the fact that I'm married to a woman and I have children. And I had this wall of judgment, really, this wall of judgment and fear that was keeping me from really accepting who I was. I was just at a place of a lot of shame and self-loathing. And it wasn't until I was able to let that wall fall, or kind of tear that wall down, and see that, this judgment I had towards gays and this homophobia that I was experiencing was really just self-hatred. And that's when I began to realize that I'm gay. This is not just something I'm experiencing in passing. This is a part of my identity, and it's not going anywhere. And so that was really hard spot to be in. And as I began asking these deep questions, would I be gay in the next life? What does that mean for my family? What does that mean for my marriage? Is this something that can be overcome, through the atonement? It just those questions led me further and deeper. And of the two elements that I had to reconcile, Mormonism and my marriage, my faith in Mormonism is really what began to buckle first. And it scared me. It was the foundation I had built my life on. And to see that crumbling beneath me, I clung to it for a bit, and as I saw myself just losing more and more of my faith and my belief, I still clung to parts that were important to me, like family. And that's why it was so much harder for me to reconcile my sexuality with my marriage. And the fact that I have two beautiful children who I love and adore, and an incredible wife who did everything she could to be understanding and supportive. But basically, we would go through these cycles of pain in our marriage, and intense raw emotions would be felt, and we'd have really intense conversations late into the night on a regular basis, and we were both really trying everything we could to find a way to make this work, and try and find some sort of gray area that would be appropriate for us, and that would allow me to, in some way, have some sort of expression of my sexuality without trying to, push it away altogether. And basically, if it wasn't, sexuality is so complicated because it's not just about what goes on in the bedroom. It's about connection, and it affects every area of your life. And if it was just about what goes on in the bedroom, or if it was just something that affected me, it would be much more manageable. But it affects my wife deeply. It affects my friendships. It affects my relationships with everyone. And it was really hard to see the pain that my sexuality was causing my wife. And to know that, if she wasn't married to me, she could be so much happier. I felt very undeserving and kind of selfish for holding on to her as long as I have. Knowing that, she could have a man that could really fulfill her and cherish her. And ultimately, what it's come down to, it's like I said, family is extremely important to me, and I want to be the kind of person that can be the best kind of person for my kids. I could go two ways. I could stay married and live a life of self-sacrifice and be that kind of example to my kids, and stay married to my wife, but at what cost? My mental health, my wife's mental health, her self-esteem, my integrity. Or I could live a life of authenticity and be an example of integrity, and not let this one little issue consume my life, and be the best kind of person that I can be, given, sexuality included, without trying to push it out or ignore it. And I want to be that kind of example for my kids. I want them to have lives of integrity, and I want them to be true to who they are, whoever they are, however they turn out. And I know that, divorce is definitely not an ideal solution. It's never, in this kind of situation, it sometimes feels like a lose-lose situation. But I have hope that things can be better post-divorce, and that my kids and my wife we can all be able to move on to a better place, and a place where we're not constantly, racked with this kind of agony and pain on a regular basis as we cycle through the roller coaster that's been our marriage. Really, there's so much of Mormonism that I do love, and I know that it'll always be a part of me, but I don't know that I'll always be an active participant in Mormonism. In some ways, it's been very frustrating for me to continue to go to church, and I even taught elders quorum for a year after having lost my faith, just trying to make it work, trying to find a middle path, and it became really challenging and painful, and so. But I mean, Mormonism is the language I speak. It was the culture I was brought up in. My kids are being raised in Mormonism. My parents, all of my family members are active LDS, and I appreciate the good that it brings, and I appreciate what it's done for me. There was so much on my mission that I had, really meaningful, powerful experiences, and I can't just let those go. I've had to reframe them a little bit and kind of pair them up with my current mindset and worldview, and really, if I was able to kind of hold on to the hope that I wouldn't be gay in the next life, and that I'd be sealed to my family and loved ones in the next life, perhaps it could be more manageable. But that just doesn't resonate with me at this time. And as much as I wish it did, I have to be authentic in how I feel and what my heart speaks to me, and I have to allow my wife that same authenticity. She has been she's been really incredible, and it hurts to think about giving up a great marriage. I mean, I love our family. My wife and I get along great in many ways. There's just this one part that is not so little. And we've tried to minimize it. We've tried time and time again to minimize it, make it not such a big deal. But it doesn't work that way. And your sexuality is not something that you can brush off or shove under a rug or paint over. And I know that there's going to be sacrifice either way. For those who choose to remain married, I have a lot of respect for. I really do. And either way involves sacrifice. And so that's the example I want to be to my kids as well, is that although some may say that our marriage failed, or that I failed, as a husband, I sacrificed something so that I could be a better person for them and be there for them. and so that they could have a mother that has someone that cherishes her. And of course, there's no guarantees as to what may happen after we divorce, but I hope that she does get that one day. And I hope that I can be an example of commitment to a husband someday, and show my kids that, despite cultural bias or bigotry, despite the hatred that's out there towards gay people, that I can show them that they have a father who is courageous enough to be himself and be honest, and not try and hide, not try and live a life of lies. That's not what I want to be about. That's not what I want them to remember. And I have hope that things can get better. I have hope that my family will accept me for who I am. It hasn't been an easy conversation to have with them. I came out to them about a year ago. At that time it was, this is something that I'm dealing with. We'll work through this. I'm going to have to tell them soon that we're getting divorced, and I'm terrified. I'm really terrified because I love my family. I love my parents, and they've been wonderful examples to me of, lives well lived, and I don't want to lose them. I know that they love me, but it's going to be really hard for them to accept this. I don't want to hurt them. I just hope they understand that my wife and I have done the best that we can with the circumstances that we've been given. And I don't want to keep hurting her. She doesn't deserve that. And I have a lot to experience and learn and grow, and I'm looking forward to that, and being able to get to a place where sexuality doesn't have to be a daily battle that I fight against myself, or feel horribly guilty over, or experience suicidal thoughts over. That it's just one facet of my life, and there's so much more to me that I've been able to develop and grow, rather than spending so much agonizing effort and frustration trying to reconcile this. This part of me isn't going away, and the best thing I can do is to incorporate it into my life and embrace it and let it become a positive attribute rather than something that I hate about myself. And really be able to experience love and that kind of fulfillment that I've always longed for and ached for. And that's what I look forward to in life.